Hi guys, Jared here. Time for the market video update. We've had an interesting day in the market. All the pairs have kind of been selling off. All of the dollar pairs have really been, the dollar's been gaining strength against the euro, against the pound, against the Australian dollar after some initial runs up, but there's definitely been some take back there and some retracement. But we've had some pretty strong markets on the U.S. equity side. S&P looking like it's going to end pretty positive. The Dow looks like it'll end somewhere 100 points in the positive. But as we mentioned, as we talked about, oil and gold are going to be two really interesting things to watch. And right now we're seeing oil starting to lower just a little bit, and we're probably going to see some little turnarounds in gold. And this will help confirm if we're going to see some big turnarounds and some big reversals on some of these pairs that we're going to look at. Quickly, we've got some news coming out. Australia has trade balance coming up in just a couple of hours. That's going to be a big mover, always is. And we've got some building approvals as well. Nothing too much out of any of the other economies for today. Coming into tomorrow, Wednesday, we have the construction PMI coming out of the UK. Not a huge mover. And then Bernanke is going to be speaking at 7 a.m. Pacific, and 5:30 we have unemployment claims. So a couple of important ones will be on at 4 a.m. Pacific time for our live session. We'll see how things go there. Quick little look here. We've seen a nice little kind of run up on the dollar index, and we've been talking about this 82 level and how it looks like we're just kind of waiting. We're looking and waiting to see if this is retracement or if this is reversal. Big double top on here, but still this could very easily just be some reversal for another charge at that 82 level and a possible break. So that's going to be something we're going to keep an eye on. The euro dollar was really interesting this morning. This thing was all over the place. It just kind of consolidated and bounced around and then made some runs and made some pullbacks and so on. Our notes from yesterday, remember the notes are posted in the chat every evening, and the notes were just absolutely pip machines. We talked about this 130.90 level in the video as well as more specifically in the notes, and you can see that above that 120.90, or excuse me, 130.90, the euro ran about 125 pips. As well, it tested our low here of about 130.20. Just a lot of activity, a lot of movement, a lot of good pips going on there. Now we're kind of left with the question, what is the euro going to do from here? You can see we can see that the euro has made several attempts now at some of these highs. That's our 38% fib. That's again some pretty strong resistance right here, some pretty good support back in the day, and now it's turned into some nice resistance. The euro looks like it's trying to kind of make another charge at that level, like it might be able to get through it, but it's also looking a little bit more and more like it might not be able to get through it. Like this is the consolidation that it needed so that it can start turning and changing that trend and changing that direction once again. So we're a little bit in a holding pattern on this one. We did talk this morning about this 5-minute trend line right here and looking for a break of this as the market was running up that. It did break. It is down a couple of pips, nothing huge, but it's definitely come through that level. It's coming into some consolidation here. This 131.50, again, these 50 pip chunks are always going to be crucial. So 131.50 will probably take the euro for a little bit of a stopping point, I would say, but we might be able to get a little run from 131.50 maybe down to 131.00. There could be a possibility of getting that low, but at this pace and as how it's run so far, I think we might be able to get a run from 131.50 to maybe 131.25 on the short term. The question that we're all kind of left wondering is if this is going to be a bounce or if this is going to really be a nice continuation. We can see that it's coming off these highs and it's coming off all these crucial levels, and we do have some Greek news still in the works, so we've got to watch out for Greece and what's going on in the European Union. But again, I think this 131.50 can be an interesting level with with some short-term stops just above some of these areas, about 20 pips, and a target of 20 to 30 pips. I think will be an interesting kind of short-term trade. But for the moment, we're still in a big, huge holding pattern. We've got to get above these highs here of about 132.50, or we've got to get back below about 130.50, 130.25. Really, ultimately, we need to make a break of the 130 mark, and that should really turn this pair around. But we'll kind of take it in bits as we go, and 130.50 will be a good start. 131.50 is actually a good start. on its way to 131, and then we'll be looking for a break of 130.50 to really get this whole thing turned and heading back the other direction. But at this point, it's definitely a lot of waiting and seeing. So we're just going to be careful, and we'll look for that short-term trade at this 131.50 right here and see if we can get a couple of pips to the downside. As far as the pound dollar, this one did exactly what what was mentioned in the video yesterday, as well as in the notes last night, which was we broke out of this channel, made a little initial run, and then ultimately about 100 plus pip run there, 115, 120 pip run. That was the first thing mentioned, and then we also talked about if the pound dollar was able to break 15800 and about setting pending orders at that 15800. You can see that that's 15800 without even turning back or blinking. It ran almost 70 pips, a little bit of retracement, and then ultimately ran about 85 pips or so. So really a big, nice run on that one. That one went just exactly as planned. So really, really well played, and I've got some great feedback on some nice pips that people made on that trade. So very happy about that. Now the question on this pound dollar is, we've broken this very short term, or excuse me, this semi long term resistance, which has been very, very strong, which was about the 15800, and we got nicely above that, almost to 15900. Not all the way there, but almost there. And so it looks like a trend might be able to continue on this pound dollar. We've still got a very strong trend line right here that we've got to get back below. But it looks like this pound dollar might be a better option to be looking to buy on the dip. So what we're left kind of wondering and watching right here is it's sitting right on that little level right there. We can see that support where the market's kind of tested a couple of times, and now it's sitting on it. And we're kind of left wondering if we're going to get a break or what's going to happen there. So here's a couple of short-term things to look for. If we're going to get a buy opportunity on the dip, we can see a short-term trend line that might give us the break that we're looking for. To buy in the break of that trend line with stops down here below some of this support, 20, 25 pips or so. Looking to trade to the highs, which are 50 plus pips away. So there's lots of room to trade there. But likewise, if this doesn't give us much of a break or much of a move, then we may be kind of stuck looking for some further breaks and some continuations down to some of these levels, like the 15800 area. So we're really just kind of in a waiting pattern, a wait and see kind of a deal. I would want to get just above this little blip right here, probably, which is around 158.40, right around there, to really get some good confirmation that this is going to be making its way up. So we just want to trade the breakout and go for it if it gives us the move. But remember that the Asian session might be kind of slow, so just be a little bit careful there. Otherwise, we're going to look for some further breakouts and some further continuations into 15800. So basically, if this pair stays below kind of this 158.50 area, which we have a lot of action right here, then we'll probably see a run to about 15800. But there could be a lot of channeling going on. So again, we're at a little bit of a holding pattern on this one, but buying on the dips is always a good idea, and especially if we get this thing dropping to 15800, then look for a buy entry at 15800 with stops just below this area. So we can see that we've got some nice little runs there, so probably stops below about 157.50, right in that general area. If we can get an entry on that 15800. So that's what I think this pound dollar is probably going to be up to for the next little while. Euro yen and pound yen pairs are interesting. Euro yen has broken out of this trend line and retraced, and it looks like it's setting up decently well for maybe a continuation back up, but that's a big red candle, and the 4-hour chart's really looking like it's starting to push this thing down. So what we could be looking for here is maybe this was all the retracement that the pair needed. That's one possibility, and that this is a good little opportunity to buy back on this trend line. So whenever we get these trend line breakouts, the market will very often come back to the trend line, bounce off it, and continue. But this one looks a little bit like it could be continuing lower. So I'm probably going to stay out of the euro yen for the moment and just wait for some of these movements to clarify a little bit and see if we're going to get a break of some of these ascending trend lines that we can see in the works, or descending trend lines. So euro yen's got to be careful. There is some possibility of intervention. The chatter is hitting, and if intervention happens, then you definitely want to be in a buy on the euro yen. But it's going to be a wild ride getting there, and then if it does, it'll probably run the euro yen up 200 or 300 pips in a very short time, and it'll come back in about 2 or 3 days. But just be careful. If that intervention doesn't happen, we might see a continuation down on the euro yen. If it does happen, then you want to be in a buy for sure. The pound yen, on the other hand, is looking very nicely set up. Euro in general is looking a little more bearish, and the pound in general is looking a little more bullish. And what we've seen on this pound yen is a nice trend line breakout right here, breakout of the channel. It's come right back down to the daily gap. It's double bottomed very nicely here, and it looks like this one is probably going to be able to continue up. So what we want to look for on this pound yen is trying to get in on a little bit more of a dip. If we can get down a little bit more to this congestion area, that would be ideal. We may not get it down that low. That's 45 or so pips to get it down into the 120.20, 120.30 area. What we could look for potentially is just some little short-term breakouts to see if this pair is going to be able to give us much of a move to the upside. So this level right here has been pretty crucial, about the 120.70, and it looks like we're making a break of that. And we're finding some support, as you can see right here, which was this little high of the last couple of days, about 120.60. And so I think the pound yen's got a decent chance of continuing up as long as we can stay above this low right here, which is about 120.45, give or take. So we'd want to stay above that low, but if we do get a run, there's quite a few pips to be had in there. So that could be a good little movement. We were in the Aussie dollar for a sell. We sold off these highs up here, made a run into this major resistance, which is on the daily chart. You can see right there. So we sold off those highs with entries around 70.30, 70.30, or 107.30, 107.35, right in that general area, with a target of trading it down to about 107.00, which we did do, and we've just recently exited this one. The Aussie dollar is going to find a lot of support right here at 106.80, and it looks like it's actually probably going to reach that 106.80. So there's going to be a lot of support, a lot of activity to kind of help that pair stay there. So there could be some short-term buying opportunities off that level, but the Aussie dollar is starting to look a little bit on the soft side, so we've got to be careful, especially with what gold might be doing, and we're going to look at that in just a moment. But remember, we do have some Australian dollar news coming up, so I like the opportunity to buy off this little low right here, off this nice little support at about 106.85, but we've got to be careful with the news because that could really drive it through that. And if it gets back below this level right here, back below this 106.80, then I think we're probably going to see some tests of much lower levels like 106.100 and so on. And so this could likewise be a good selling opportunity. But let's wait for the news to come out. Wait for some consolidation. I'll include in my notes how this is looking and if we've got some trade opportunities to take this pair lower. And I think we just might. But the one thing that I was talking about and being very cautious about is gold. Gold has reached our initial target of 1750. It hit 1750 and it's kind of stuck now. So if gold starts to turn, which it may be able to do, then that's going to probably reverse our Aussie dollar a whole bunch. And so that's what we've got to watch out for. And the same thing on this dollar Swiss franc. It's starting to bottom out once again here on this 1 hour chart. We can see that. We can see it very nicely on the 4 hour chart. If this pair is able to hold on to those lows, which is just above the 50% fib level, then we'll probably see some continuations up. But it's sure looking like it's bottoming out here. And if that starts heading up, gold will probably start heading down. The Aussie dollar, euro dollar, pound dollar pairs will probably start heading down as well. So we've got a lot of interesting things at play. I'll have some more details in the notes, but we'll see you in the chat and we'll continue going over some of these possible trade entries as the day goes on. Thanks everyone and best of luck.